Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to episode 5 of Pod Snipe Celly. We are so glad to have you with us for the show tonight. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me is Joel Fernino. Joel, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing well, Dan. How's it going? Episode 5. Are we just gonna do that every week now? We're just gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe it's episode 5. Oh my god, I can't believe it's episode 245.
Maybe we will. I mean, it's still kind of surreal that we're this far into it.
I mean, I agree. I agree. It is kind of crazy. We got a fun one.
We do. Today. We have a loaded show tonight, so we are just going to go ahead and jump right into things. Starting with some breaking hockey news from this afternoon. Anaheim Ducks general manager Bob Murray has been placed on administrative leave due to internal investigation, quote, related to professional conduct. Now, Joel, this is kind of a weird situation here because he's on administrative leave. He has not been fired. There is an independent investigation outside group looking in. However, this is based on the preliminary findings of that investigation. What really do we know so far and kind of what's going on down there in Anaheim?
What do we know so far? Pretty much absolutely nothing other than, the quote unquote allegations are of, professional misconduct. And that's the exact quote that the Ducks, I think it was the owner who spoke about it today, or the vice president, whatever it was. They're just using, your typical high level verbiage. It really sounds like they don't want to release any details or even any minor details of what the allegations are until they get more deeper into that investigation. And you're right, they did hire an independent law firm, kind of similar to how Jenner and Block was hired as well for the Hawks.
Yeah, similar.
Don't know much.
Similar circumstances in terms of that internal investigation, but I think when we all heard that Bob Murray was on leave due to an internal investigation, that was kind of where everyone's minds went to. So thankfully, at least based on what we know now, it doesn't sound like that's the case. But without reading too much into things here,
you hope. You definitely hope that it's nothing as unfortunate as the the whole Brett Aldrich thing with the 2010 Blackhawks. You really hope it's not something like that. And right now it doesn't sound like it, but they also haven't released anything. So I guess we'll find out. I think we'll find out probably in the next maybe couple of weeks, maybe a month. I don't know. I don't know how much time they're going to be. They might be taking their time during this investigation. I'm not sure.
Could be in it. I think you're exactly right. It'll probably be a little while before we find anything out. The assistant general manager, I believe, has taken over as the interim. In the meantime, Jeff Solomon is his name. So Ducks in a interesting situation here. We'll keep an eye on that, but we don't want to read too much into things here, recklessly speculate anything like that. So, but we did need to touch on it. It's kind of the big story of the day in the NHL world. And speaking of big news that just absolutely rocked the NHL world, Jack Eichel. He finally
got traded.
The saga is over for now, ? Pending his surgery, which is upcoming. Jack Eichel has had a herniated disc in his neck since last March. Just reading that makes my neck hurt.
Yeah, right.
But Eichel to Vegas, along with a third-round pick. The return going back to Buffalo is prospect Peyton Krebs, winger Alex Tuck, a conditional first-round pick, and a conditional second-round pick. Now, the conditions on those picks are dependent on Vegas's draft position. If Vegas ends up with a top 10 pick this season, which with all the injuries they have right now is still somewhat on the table, but you think when these guys get healthy, Vegas probably turns into a playoff contending type team, won't be top 10. which would mean Buffalo gets that first this year and the second rounder next year.
Yep.
However, if that first round pick is this year, or excuse me, if it is a top 10 pick this year for Vegas, that first rounder defers to next year, the second rounder the year after that. Joel, my question for you, who wins this trade?
I mean, based off of health alone, I know we have the big if he comes out of this surgery the same, and I'm sure he will. Dude, Vegas wins that trade easily. I think it kind of comes down to, I was looking this up. There's a couple good follows on Twitter, and it was really funny. Like, it's funny you mentioned like who wins this trade, and it's funny when Vegas first, opened up when they, first became their, franchise. They were like, we're gonna build through the draft. And then since they have said those words, they have traded for Max Pacioretty, traded for Mark Stone, traded for Robin Leonard, signed Alex Pietrangelo, and now traded for Jack Eichel.
And they've completely wiped out their prospect pool. None
For
of
the
their
next-
first round picks that they've
Yeah.
had are still with the organization. Everybody is out the door. The really just a bare bones prospect pool. Vegas is all in.
I see what you did there. They proverbially put all their chips into the middle of the table, right?
They did.
I had to get a pun in. I don't think I've had a pun in 5 episodes, so. But no, I think as long as health is not a factor, as long as Eichel comes back from the surgery, which I feel like we all know he will, just as good, hell, if not better. Let me just give you just like a projected kind of top lines for Vegas, and I think because he's going to have the surgery. I don't know if they have an official date yet for the surgery, but it's soon. I know that
it is soon, is what they said. They're
Yeah.
trying to get it as soon as they can here. No official date that we know of, but you know how hockey teams are with injury information and surgery information. He may have already had it and we don't know. Like, that's how secretive some of these teams can be.
They're
with
usually
that sort of
pretty
thing.
good. They're usually pretty. Most teams, at least in the NHL, are usually pretty good though with coming out and saying like, X player has had a successful surgery on X body part. They're usually really good about that. But either way, he's scheduled to do this soon, and I believe the timetable, if I remember correctly, would put him coming back sometime late January, I believe, is what it was. Late January, early February is what I think.
That sounds about right. And of course, that's when he returns to the team, not necessarily returns to game action.
No, what I read was potentially,
really?
what I read was potentially to team action. Obviously, you're right. Something this significant, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But yes, you're right. So let's just say that return to team action is sometime in January.
Right. That practice maybe on the ice.
Right. And even
maybe
before that,
even for the Olympics.
No. What I did read is that's like their timetable. They're going to aim for his return to on ice action to be after the Olympics.
Okay.
Yeah. That was, I did read that.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. And then obviously they don't know when he'll be back in full capacity, but let's say, middle of February rolls around, he's had contact practices and he's good to go. And the doctors are like, you're good, go for it. Just picture this when everyone's healthy too, because obviously they're still riddled with injuries. But think about this. But just let's just, like you could potentially have a top line of Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, and Max Pacioretty. That's disgusting.
That is just an other like that to me. That's a line that competes with Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen in Colorado. That's a line that competes with Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak out in Boston. That's a line that competes with Ovechkin, Backstrom, and Tom Wilson in Washington. That's a good line, and
it's gross.
And the way Stone plays as a defensive winger, Eichel is the playmaker, and Pacioretty is the volume shooter. I mean, it's about as well balanced of a line and as high end talent of a line as you can really get in this league.
Oh yeah. Now, I will give you one other tidbit there, though. Is again, I still think they win the trade. But then the salary cap is going to start to have to creep in here.
Yes.
So there are exactly 4 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 2 goalies currently on Vegas that make up roughly 73% of their salary cap.
Oh my goodness.
Eichel, Stone, Pacioretty, and William Karlsson.
Yep.
Then you got Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, and Alec Martinez, and then the 2 goalies being Robin Lehner and Brosseau? I don't remember. I don't know how to say his name.
Brossois, I think.
Brossois.
It's French.
You are from South Canada, so that makes sense.
More or less.
Yes. So either way, that's a lot, and I know from experience, cap hell can be rough.
it can, but especially with all of the prospects that they've traded away now. I mean, Vegas, it has to be this year or next, because the cap hell that's going to come as a result of that is just a lot.
It's another argument we could have in an off-season talk of, like you said, like they have to win a cup. Maybe this year. It depends on when Eichel gets back and how the other injuries play out. But they have to win a cup in the next, I would say, 3, maybe 4 years. Sorry, HP.
Our buddy
Find
HP
the lie. Find the lie.
Booing Joel for his South Canada comment. A reference that Joel has always referred to Minnesota as South Canada. A bit of an inside joke there, but we love HP and we boo Joel every chance we get, so why not?
I love Canada. I like Minnesota. It's fine.
You've been there a couple times.
I have.
Let's segue to your team.
Yes.
The Chicago Blackhawks. You have been waiting for this moment since probably last season.
2 seasons ago,
the
actually.
Start of this season. And it's kind of been a ticking time bomb waiting to blow. Jeremy Colliton out as the Hawks head coach.
Goodbye.
He's out the door. See you never. He's done. Joel, take me through your reaction as a fan seeing that Colliton is out.
I saw that news and was ecstatic, and it needed to happen. I mean, we blew a lead to Carolina. This was the Wednesday picks that we had last week, right? You know, I knew we were going to lose, right? But we made it look competitive, still ended up losing, right? Then you come through the weekend, and that Winnipeg game was atrocious. I watched it. I think I went to a bar, was watching it at a bar, and everyone in that bar was just like, what in the hell is going on? And you could tell in the entire team's body language that whether they gave up on Colliton or they were just he didn't have them prepared, it was time. Well, it was time a long time ago, but the excitement was huge. Obviously, we have to do a search. It's not going to change that much, but Derek King, the King, as we're calling him in Chicago, he is 1-0. He is undefeated as a Blackhawks head coach. You could just see it right away. The defensive game plan in his, again, small sample size, it's 1 game, but you could just see there was some pep in the players' step again. They felt guilty, and obviously the big stars, Taves, Kane, DeBrincat, all of them mentioned how they wish they could do more, but that's what the players are going to say, right? Like that's what they're going to say. They're not going to just be like, yeah, no, screw him. I'm glad he's gone. Like they're not going to do that. But you could just tell they had a bigger pep in their step. And this Derek King, he's such a cool dude. He's basically like everyone's. Literally people are just like, this guy is the dad I've always wanted. Like, he's super open. Obviously, I don't, winning press conferences is whatever. It doesn't really matter. But this guy, and I think a big thing too that he came out with and mentioned after that first win against Nashville the other night was that he gave the leaders more freedom. Again, I'm sure Jeremy Colliton's a great guy off the ice. I'm pretty sure he was a great dude off the ice. That's fine. On the ice, he was virtually Matt Nagy. He was so stubborn to his system, and he just, he kept just shoving Dylan Strome off the ice and not letting him play. We talked about that for no reason. He had this concept of always bringing up these AHL guys that clearly you'd watch them play and they're not doing well. Bench them. Why do you keep playing them and giving them more ice time when they're proving they are not playing well? his system, he was just very stubborn. It wouldn't work, and it showed in this last game. The players had more pep in their step. It was the best defensive game they've had all season. And Seth Jones was already looking great. Other than that first game of this season, he's already built and started looking better and better and better as the season has gone on. He looked like a true all-star without Colliton's system. He could have had 2 goals, and I think, and he also, fun fact, he leads all defensemen in points.
There you go. We're gonna go back to what we got a question about the Eichel situation in Vegas. Cap will rise due to increased revenue from new TV deals and inflation of the dollar, right?
Yeah.
Yes and no. So the catch on that is because of the pandemic, we've got a frozen flat cap for the next couple of seasons. So I believe the 2024-25 season is where we will first see the cap go back up due to the lost revenue.
Next year it'll go up by just $1 million.
I hadn't heard that. I knew that last they were talking, it was they were talking about 4 years down the road as being the return of an increased salary cap, which could it happen sooner? Absolutely. I think the Kraken expansion is certainly helping with that.
Oh yeah.
The revenue that was brought in and distributed among the teams as part of that expansion is included towards that salary cap amount, or the funding to recoup those losses. So that's a great question. Thanks Meech, for chiming in with that one.
Yeah, it's a good question for sure. Yeah, I had read. I don't know how credible the source is. I saw that the cap's supposed to go up just $1 million next year, but I don't know how credible that source is. So I'll run it back on that one.
By the way, we should mention this as well. If you have a comment, a prediction, or anything else that you want to share with us throughout the show, drop it in the comments below. We'll put it up on screen just like we've done for HP and for Meech so far. We are live streaming this to Facebook, to YouTube, and to Twitch. Our Twitter, we're having some issues with that. I'll try and get that figured out before next week's show. Try and figure out what's going on there. But everything else is streaming right so far. So thank you very much to everybody who has tuned into the show so far. We are just about, not quite to the halfway point. We'll say a third of the way through it. And we've already had so much stuff that we've had to talk about that we haven't even gotten to Connor McDavid's goal. I mean, this man absolutely, we're going to call it up on the screen here in just a minute. And just, if you haven't seen it yet, this is going to blow your mind. If you've already seen it, you know how good this is, but it's still worth sharing every time. It's just that good. Here it is. Take a look. So playing this through without sound, we've got Connor McDavid just undressing everybody.
4 defenders, no problem.
4 defenders, takes out the goalie, backhand, stick handling through a phone booth, ties the game at that point.
The game, and they ended up winning.
Been running through that. They won in overtime, and just how nuts that made the building. I mean, looking at it again from the other side here, shot off the post. Bring it back in, bring it outside the zone. Everybody tags up. Got to wait for the regroup and just watch stick handling through everybody. Like you're not stopping Connor McDavid. I'm sorry. There's no. He's that, like, it's unfair how good he is at hockey. I watch this and I could watch it 1,000 times and never get sick of it. That's what everybody wants to do, is get that kind of a highlight, that kind of a goal. McDavid is just stupid good. And he's not even leading his team in points because Leon Draisaitl's ahead of him.
It's so funny too, just to see them like do that little friendly competition between each other. Because I'm pretty sure Draisaitl's only 1 point ahead of him, and that's kind of how it's been after every game. It's just like oh, we're right there. You're only 1 point ahead of me, and then by the end of the game, they've both gone up like basically 3 points, but they still it's always like a 1 point lead between one of them. It's ridiculous, but to me, it's just so much fun to watch. Like, and again, you see the stars come through as long as you and I have been watching hockey, and it's fun to watch, but there's just something about Connor McDavid too, where it's just like, he's just such a likable dude. And my God, is he fun to watch?
I was lucky enough to get to go to a Minnesota Wild game, lower bowl, where the Wild were playing the Oilers. And whenever Connor McDavid was on the ice, I wasn't watching at all what the puck was doing. I was just watching Connor McDavid because, oh my goodness, does he move around the ice so fast. He's always a threat with the puck on his stick. That was like the one game in a 10-game stretch where he didn't score. And if he did, I wouldn't have even been mad. Like, I want my team to win, but getting to see a McDavid goal in person, imagine being in the building that night. Like, you tell your grandkids about watching Connor McDavid score that goal in person. Like, it's that good.
I mean, the next hockey jersey I buy that isn't a Blackhawks jersey is easily Connor McDavid. Those orange ones too. Those orange ones are awesome. It's just like a fun stat to look at, and it's like we had the COVID season last season, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So shortened season, whatever.
56 games.
56 games. We're 10 games into this season. In the last 66 regular season games, Connor McDavid has 127 points.
Somebody put up, I want to say it was J Fresh Hockey on Twitter, put up his listing of all of the different stats from the end of last season. His wins above replacement, his expected goals, all of that. And like by the numbers, he's gotten better this season than he was last season. Like we looked at last year and he's, a borderline 2-point per game player for this season. I think he ended up being at like 1.6, 1.7, somewhere around there. Like
that.
It's still one of the most ridiculous seasons we've seen in the last 25 years. And he's getting better. Like, it doesn't make sense. How are you that good and you're still getting so much better? Like, that's the standard that every hockey player wants, is no matter how good you get, you're constantly getting better. We're seeing that with McDavid. It honestly blows my mind how good he is already, and he's still improving and getting better.
The most fun part about it too, he's only 24.
Yeah. Like he's just starting to enter the prime of his career, if you want to call it that.
I would call maybe this season the entrance to it, right? For a forward, your prime is typically like in that 23 to like
23 to 27,
range,
23 to
28 range,
right around there. It was really like the peak of your scoring, the peak of everything really in your game. And we've kind of seen in recent years that upper crest of your career ends up being a little bit longer than maybe what it was
Alex Ovechkin
in the past. Ovechkin is an anomaly because that man is leading the league in goals. He's doing it without
number 741 last night. He tied Brett Hull, or he passed Brett Hull.
Tied.
Yeah.
Tied last night. Yeah. Tied Brett Hull for 4th place on the all-time list. We didn't even put in a slug for that. We have all of our banners for the show. We didn't even talk about the fact that Ovechkin tied Brett Hull for 4th on the all-time goals list. That's how crazy of a week this hockey week has been.
Towards the end of the show, I have a question for you. I want your take on, but we'll get there.
Okay, we'll get there. I like that. Good tease. Let's move into Brady Tkachuk, captain of the Ottawa Senators. That was another hockey news piece from last week. I can't even believe how many pieces we've already covered in 25 minutes of this show, and we're just now getting to this. Maybe we need to add a second show during the week. I mean, that's a lot of hockey talk. Maybe people don't want to hear us that much, but
come on, of course they do.
There's that much. You never know. People pretend to like us. It's cool. Brady Tkachuk, captain of the Ottawa Senators, one of the younger captains in the league. Did Ottawa make the right move here, given that Brady Tkachuk, a bit of a reputation type player, someone who definitely plays with an edge to his game, gets under his opponent's skin a lot, just turned 22 in September. Did the Senators make the right move here?
I think they did. I think it was pretty clear cut there. He's been one of their top scorers, if not their top scorer, for pretty much since he's gotten to the team, basically. And I mean, I think you mentioned it too. Like, he plays with that edge. I think there's a lot of different things to make up. You need of a makeup for a captain, and I mean, he embodies all of it. Also, that last name helps, doesn't it?
It carries a lot of weight in this league.
That last name carries a lot of weight. Obviously, Keith Kachuk was known very well respected, but he was a feisty dude.
He was.
All of his sons are proving to be the same thing, but they're also backing it up with the scoring. And so, I mean, you're right. He's a reputation kind of player. He plays with that edge, but that's half of what you need in a captain. That type of guy is gonna lead by example.
Yeah, I don't personally necessarily like Brady Tkachuk. I mean, good player. Don't get me wrong.
I've heard
he is a very good hockey player. Something about him I just don't like, and I don't know what it is that I don't like about him. Maybe it's just, I can't recall him off the top of my head injuring any players I like or anything like that. But I don't know. But it makes sense for Ottawa to do it. Tkachuk, they've got him locked up on a long-term deal through the end of the 2027-28 season.
Yeah.
Just a massive deal there. So he's going to be there for a while. There are only, believe it or not, 5 of the 13 Senators forwards listed on Cap Friendly who are under contract past this season.
And I mean,
so he's one of those 5, and 3 of the others, are guys who are on their entry level deal. So in terms of long term for Ottawa, it kind of had to be Tkachuk here.
And I was just about to touch on that too. Like, I hate to say it this way, but I also find the lie. Who else was going to get it? If you look at their current roster, who else are they going to name captain?
I would have thought maybe Thomas Chabot, but he's wearing the A already.
He's wearing the A
so
already, right? Like,
he's still a voice in that locker room. One of the leaders on and off the ice. Certainly one of the time on ice leaders. Oh my God, does that guy ever come off for a line change? He's like, Chris Chelios type numbers for the kind of shifts that he puts up.
Yeah,
exactly. Just never comes off the ice. 30 plus minutes a game in some cases.
You wonder too, they're obviously one of the bottom feeder teams this year so far, right? But without a captain, kind of similar like with the Hawks coaching change, right? There's always something that could potentially light a fire under the team's ass, right? Get them going.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe naming a new captain, them getting pumped up for their team. Maybe that was another mini strategy to this too, right?
Maybe. And I mean, they do have a very young team, a lot of forwards, 20, 21, 22, 23. Tim Stützle, 19. Igor Sokolov, 21. Alex Formenton, 22. Parker Kelly, 22. They got a lot of Shane Pinto, who's on IR, is 20. That's kind of their core group there of guys. It's a young squad, and even though Tkachuk at 22 is still already one of the leaders in the room, it does make sense. I don't necessarily have to like it, but I will say I agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes it. Now, that's a good segue into a little trivia question I have for you.
Okay.
So, with Brady Tkachuk getting named the brand new captain of the Ottawa Senators, can you name me the 4 remaining teams in the league currently that do not have a captain?
That is a good question. For one, the New York Rangers, because everybody on that team wears an A. They have 23 plus their scratches alternate captains. That's not really true, but they have 6.
Right.
It's I can't 6 alternate captains. It was one of the weirder stories of this offseason. I'm not gonna say it was the weirdest. There was a lot of weird stuff this offseason too.
Who wears the A's again on the Rangers? Not to derail your answer.
Okay, really so quick, the 6 are Kreider, Panarin, Strome, Trouba, Zibanejad, and Goodrow.
Okay.
So those are their 6. HP guessing Arizona. He's correct. Arizona.
He is correct. That's another one.
Is another.
So you've got
Buffalo Sabres after.
There you go. You got 3.
Stripping Eichel. And I'm going to cheat and look at the other one here because it's on our banner. It's the Calgary Flames is the other one. So we came up with 3 out of 4, and Everybody kind of
You
forgets
cheated.
about Calgary. I did, but you know,
So you know what? That's fine. You also phoned a friend with HP hopping in there. So I have a
I'll
second.
take it. We love people commenting. Oh, hit me with this second question. This one,
no.
I
The second question is exactly what you just brought up. Is I would like to. I mean, I'll have my takes too, but I want to. I'd like to talk about I don't know who do we think will be next on each team.
Well, Arizona is in a weird spot because everybody there is a free agent. Like,
let's do them last.
let me name you the forwards that they have under contract next season.
Okay.
Clayton Keller, Andrew Ladd.
Okay. I still can't believe he's playing hockey.
That's it. That's
oh,
the
wow.
forward list.
Okay.
Is Clayton Keller and Andrew Ladd. Those are the only two forwards who are under contract through next season. Now let me read through the defensemen who are on the roster right now who are under contract next season. Jacob Chikrin, Shane Gostisbehere.
That's it.
That's it. And now let me read for you the goaltenders who are under contract next season, even though goalies don't really get named captains. But here are the goaltenders who are under contract next season.
I knew that's what you were going to do.
Okay, I take it back. They do also, I forgot about injured reserve, add Nick Schmaltz to the forward group and add Connor Timmins to the defense group. So they have 3 forwards and 3 defensemen who will be on their active roster under contract next season. So that kind of shortens up the list. Realistically, probably Keller or Chikrin. Take your pick of those two. One gets the C, the other gets the A. I would think it would be Clayton Keller. I think I'd be kind of surprised if they went Chikrin. Not that Chikrin wouldn't be a good choice. I just think that that's kind of, I mean.
I'm with you. I think I know we'll bounce these off each other. I'm with you. Keller was going to pretty much be probably my only answer there, or the more hot take answer. Nobody, and they'll their next top 5 draft pick that they get will be their captain in the next couple of years.
Couple years down the road. I'm trying to remember their pick in this year's draft. I'm trying to come up with his name here. Is somebody who, I mean, maybe Dylan Guenther. He strikes me as the type of guy who could be a future captain, but not anytime soon. I think he'll be on roster next season though. But I think, it's either no captain or Keller.
Right, exactly. That's why Arizona is kind of that wild card of these 4 teams that we're gonna talk about.
Do they give it to Keller just based on like seniority? Being with the organization. I'm not sure if he or Chikrin have been there longer.
I would assume
Keller 23, Chikrin 23, so it's close.
I would assume he's viewed highly in the room too. I think that's obviously got to play the biggest part. Like, does he? I'm guilty. I don't watch any Arizona games.
I will tomorrow because that's who the Wild are playing tomorrow. But here's the other thing too worth considering, and that is that heading into next offseason, at the moment, Arizona has $52 million in cap room, so they could go out and sign 3 $10 million free agents, still have $22 million left over, and they could get a captain out of that group. So I mean, you never know, but
that would be an off-season discussion of who they would even try to sign, and if they tried to sign them, would they even want to go there? But we'll talk about that later.
You throw enough money at somebody, if you're going to give them $10 million a year to play hockey, there are worse places you could be all year than Arizona.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's fair.
Buffalo Sabres. This one is a little tricky because the situation with Jack Eichel is, he was stripped of the captaincy before the start of this season and then traded last week. This one is a really interesting one. I want to hear your thoughts first on this one.
It really is, because you look at the current A's on the team right now, and it's simply just Gergensons, which is funny. I kind of forgot he was still here.
Is he on the A?
Yeah.
Cap Friendly just has Kyle Okposo. They don't even have Gergensons.
Yeah, Okposo is the other one. Yeah. Yeah, no, NHL.com has Gergensons with the other A.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, Obviously, those are your two easy choices potentially. I mean, I would like to think. Oh my God, they have Yoki Haru. That's right.
Yeah, you forgot about him.
Yeah, I did. Well, so that clearly means that we didn't exactly lose that trade, did we? Well, let's not get into it.
Yeah, that's another topic.
I would, obviously those two, but I mean, Okposo she's getting up there in age, right?
Okposo is 33.
He's 33. Yeah,
but
so
also it feels like he's been in the league forever and hasn't really.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
2 goals in 35 games last season, 9
Yikes.
goals in 52 games the season before that, 14 goals in 78 games in 2018-19. He hasn't been a 20-goal scorer since the 15-16 season when he was still with the New York Islanders.
Yep.
So
he was. That's
but
when
he
thought
already
he was going to be an all-star.
already broke last season's goal total. He's got 3 this season, 3 goals and 3 assists in 12 games.
It's interesting. Oh, you know what? I wonder too. Like, obviously Jeff Skinner is there, and now obviously Alex Tuck is now there, right? Maybe Alex Tuck jumps into that conversation.
He could be, and he was someone that I had my eye on too. I think probably Rasmus Dahlin is going to be the next.
Took it right from
captain.
Me, exactly. Yep.
But I don't think they would go Skinner. I think you look at the fact that Skinner's making $9 million. 11% of the team cap hit. And for what, 7 goals last season, his goals have just dropped. He hit 40 goals in 18-19, and he scored 24 goals in 3 seasons or 2+ seasons, right. I guess, since then. I don't know if I can see that one here.
No, I'm with you. Rasmus Dahlin is going to be my choice. They're going to need
a rink to play in next season first.
It's a good point.
Well, there's that.
It's a very good point. But no, I am with you. I think Rasmus Dahlin was going to be my choice as well. And I mean, if you really wanted to throw one other player into the mix there, I would go Tuck. I think Tuck makes his way through.
I could see that. I think maybe a player like Dylan Cousins might work his way up there, but I don't know that he's ready for that right now. He's just kind of starting to break out a little bit, so I think that's maybe a couple more.
I'm seeing a lot of ex-Blackhawks on this roster right now. Drake Kachula, John Hayden, Vinny Hinostroza.
There's a few.
Yeah.
All
right.
Calgary
next.
Flames. We'll go there next. Calgary Flames.
You go ahead. I'll let you go first on that one.
I think similar to Brady in Ottawa, it's going to be Matthew Tkachuk. I think they're going to get him locked up on a long-term deal. He's a restricted free agent this upcoming offseason. Already making $7 million this season. He's 23. He's one of not only their best players and leading scorers, but somebody that really kind of stands out as someone who probably should be their next captain. But without that long-term deal, you can't give it to him yet. You want someone that's going to stick around a little more. In a similar position, Andrew Mangiapane. Those two are probably my picks. I do have a third, but I want to see if you can come up with a player that might be in that mix too.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Matthew Tkachuk is pretty much the obvious option there. But depending on the contract situation, if he stays, just to be different, Johnny Hockey, man.
There is that because Johnny Gaudreau is a free agent. Unrestricted free agent at the end of this season.
Right. Does he stay? Does he go? If he stays, I actually would I would still double down on that, because if he stays, he's going to stay long term, obviously. If not, that changes things. But barring if Gaudreau decides to sign with them for, let's call it the next, I don't know, let's call it at least 5 years. I
would think they're looking 7 to 8 is probably what the team is looking at, because he's 23. He's probably going to, like you said, want like a 5 or 6 year deal so he can get kind of 2 big paydays instead of 1.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I think whenever they announce the long-term deal, I think it'll be maybe 2 weeks after that. They let it breathe, and then they'll announce that
Yeah.
Kachuk. As
I
a
have a
dark
third.
horse. Okay, you go first.
No. I have I want to
thrown
hear
a
your
couple
dark
out.
horse. My third is also a dark horse. I want to see if it's the same guy.
Okay. Should we say it on the count of 3?
That's gonna sound really weird on the audio.
It might. It might. Let's try it. Ready?
All right.
1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Noah
Noah
Hannafin.
Hannafin. Oh wow.
Yes!
Okay. That's
Let's
awesome.
go.
All right. Okay.
I like where your head's at.
Oh yeah. I mean, defenseman as the captain. It's been a popular move over the last
Especially
maybe
in Calgary,
decade.
Mark Giordano, previous
Mhm.
captain there. So it could be. I
Yeah.
think Elias Lindholm might be in that conversation too, but I think Hannafin makes a lot of sense. If not, Kachuk or Gaudreau.
Yeah.
And then let's wrap this one up with the New York Rangers. Any one of their 6? Do they keep 6 alternates and promote somebody else maybe that isn't even wearing a letter right now?
I'm not gonna lie.
Alexi
I didn't know you were
Lafreniere,
allowed.
Capo Caco.
I didn't know you were even allowed until this year when they did it. I didn't know you were allowed to have more than 3 people wearing a captain, having a captaincy position.
Right. I thought 4 was the NHL limit.
We did that this year.
Mm-hmm. I thought you could go 4 alternates or 1 captain and 2 alternates.
Right. I don't know.
But I didn't think you could do more than 4, and the Rangers did 6.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go with who do you think will be the next captain of the New York Rangers?
You know, I feel like a lot of people might say Panarin. I'm not going to agree. I love my bread man, but I don't think it would be him. It's really funny. He's not even an alternate. Adam Fox.
That's where I was going to go.
Come
I'll come up with somebody else, but you tell me why you think Adam Fox should be the.
I'll come up with I got a couple others too, but he just inked that huge deal, right? He just inked the huge deal, and this, like we talked about this. I think last episode when he inked his deal.
Yep.
He's only 23 years old, and I just continue to see just these tweets all over the place. Adam Fox is good at hockey. OMG, Adam Fox. Like, he is just continuing to dazzle, especially as a defenseman, in both senses of it, right? Like defensive game, offensive game. His best years of hockey are well ahead of him.
Yes.
And I think
Norris winner last year, already looking better this season too.
That's the thing. You win the Norris at 22, ink your crazy, whatever it was, 9-year deal or 8-year deal at
8-year, $9.5 million extension.
You ink that crazy deal at age 23. Obviously, you're going to be there. We talked about it till he's 30, and defensemen have a little bit of a longer prime, as we've seen. And his best years are ahead of him still, even though it seems like his best years are right now. But I feel like it's got to be Adam Fox. The respect that he's probably earned in the only 2 years he's been there full time. Adam Fox has got to be my pick. Now, just to be different and have a second pick, it's tough.
It is. That's why we ask the tough questions on this show.
I know it's tough. I need to see how Lafreniere's development continues to progress, right? Because I think he would jump into that conversation. Honestly, maybe Zibanejad.
I like that. I could see that.
I think if I had to pick 3, Adam Fox is my number 1, and then I think it's kind of a toss-up between Zibanejad and then if Lafreniere starts, to really progress the way he's supposed to.
I think Zibanejad makes a lot of sense as well. Signed through the 2029-2030 season. That's not even a real year. 2030. Like,
stop. Let's not talk about that.
That's weird to think about. But yeah, that he's signed that far out is just bonkers to me. I could see him. I could see Chris Kreider as someone else. I agree. I don't think that they go Panarin outright.
The A makes sense, and he'll probably keep the A until whenever, but I don't see him getting the C.
Yeah, I think same sort of deal there. If we're going with the theme of defensemen and they don't go Fox, Trouba would make sense there, but
Hmm?
I think you kind of nailed it with either Fox or Zibanejad. I think would be my two choices there.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty,
That was a fun saga.
our second to last segment of the night, as we have started to do the last couple weeks, Wednesday night picks.
I gotta beef these numbers up,
looking
man.
ahead at tomorrow night. You got to pump those numbers up, man. Those are rookie numbers.
Yeah, I got you.
You're 2 for 3, or two of 5. You're 2 wins, 3 losses on the season. I'm 3 wins, 2 losses. The difference last week was the Blue Jackets and the Avalanche. I had faith that the Blue Jackets would get it done. They did. Joel took Colorado.
You'd think
And
that's the smart money, but
you
no,
would think
apparently
so,
not.
but not only did Columbus win on Wednesday, but then they doubled down and beat them again on Saturday too. So 2 wins over the Avalanche last week for the Blue Jackets. Look out for Columbus, man. They're starting to put some stuff together here.
Was about to say, don't look now, but they are sitting in that second wild card spot right now with it's a 3-way tie between them, Detroit, which is hilarious.
Also weird to say.
And then Philly. So it's actually realistically only 4 points separate second wild card from first place Carolina. So that's a dogfight over in the Metro.
As good as Carolina has been, teams are 2 points back of them. Like, that division is going to be fun to watch.
Hot take before we get into our picks, the Rangers are going to overtake them. Did you see Keandre Miller's goal last night? That was disgusting.
I didn't. I'll have to go back and look for check the tape on that one. But I mean, it's a dogfight of a division, and Columbus is going to have a tough road to get there with all the young players on their roster that they might fall off. Plus, you look at who's behind them. The Islanders are behind them. The New Jersey Devils are behind them. The Pittsburgh Penguins are behind them. And oh, by the way, Pittsburgh is playing without Sidney Crosby, who's in COVID protocol. They're playing without Evgeny Malkin. Chris Letang has missed time. Gensel's missed time. Jeff Carter has missed time. And they're still only 3 points out of it. I mean, that's a good hockey team.
Your point there about they are playing without all of them is very meta, because they are currently playing the Blackhawks as we speak to my left.
There you go. What's the score in that game? We'll give a pseudo live update here that still falls within fair use and not retransmitting the game without the express written consent of the NHL.
Yeah, well, then I'll just say I'll say the wrong time, but it is no score right now. About halfway through the first.
Okay, there we go. That's a vague enough description.
Courtesy of NBC Sports Chicago for copyright purposes.
that we're all good to go there.
Yeah. There we go.
So our first pick, well, it's a little short. We're once again doing 3 picks, but there's also only 3 games tomorrow. So we're going to start with Toronto Maple Leafs -130 at Philadelphia Flyers +110. You mentioned the Flyers in that wild card tight position. They're close. Carter Hart already much improved from where he was at last season. Hard to be worse than where he was at last season. It was pretty ugly there. Toronto Maple Leafs, John Tavares is still showing up on that injury report. He is out with an undisclosed condition. Last played. He did play on Monday and was added to the injury list today. 4 shots, 2 hits in Monday's 5-1 loss. Undisclosed condition for Tavares. Andre Kasha, undisclosed. Peter Mrazek with a groin. He's on IR into December. Are you going to take the Leafs here? Or are you going to go for those underdog Flyers at home?
The Leafs have been way too unpredictable this year for me. You know, they're losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to, but then all of a sudden they're still beating teams. Like, they're 7-5. They're I don't want to say right below Florida, but they're right below Florida in second place. I'm wondering if that's why, that's a result of, Tampa just not getting out of the gate pretty much, right? I got to go Philly. I'm going to take Philly. Toronto's been way too inconsistent. And fun fact too, they let in a lot of goals, even though they're sitting in second place in the Atlantic. So they have a goal differential of -4. Meanwhile, Philly in the dogfight Metropolitan we were just talking about has a goal differential of +7. So it's a little weird to me, but obviously one division is, the parity there is a lot different. So I'm gonna go Philly.
Flyers, some big wins this season: 6-3 over Boston, 5-3 over Edmonton.
They know how to step it up against the big boys.
Beat the Washington Capitals 2-1 on Saturday night. But then you look at some of their other losses here: a 4-0 loss against Calgary, 4-2 against Florida, shootout loss against Vancouver, overtime loss against the Penguins that, as we mentioned a moment ago, without Crosby, without Malkin. I don't know with this Flyers team. I mean, obviously the Maple Leafs, you look at the 7-1 loss to Pittsburgh. You look at being 5 games into the season and having fans throw jerseys onto the ice. But Maple Leafs coming in hot. Winners 5 of their last 6. I'll take Toronto here. I'll be different. I'll go with the favorite. I normally don't like picking against home dogs. It's kind of a betting superstition, if you will. But I'll go Leafs here. You're taking the Flyers. We'll put that one on the chalk there. Second game of the night: Nashville Predators at Dallas Stars. We've already had Dallas in our picks segment. We went different directions on them. That was Dallas against Vegas the first week that we did this. I took Vegas. You took Dallas. Vegas won that game. You gonna roll with Dallas again here?
Man, I don't know why this one's so tough. It's two very meh teams, right?
Rough.
Dallas is
numbers.
Yeah, Dallas is 4-5-2 and out of a playoff spot. Nashville is 6-5-1 and out of a playoff spot just based off a tiebreaker. They're tied with the Kings for that second wild card spot right now. They just lost to us in overtime, right? They just lost to the Blackhawks in overtime. But again, I don't really think we're as bad as we look, or as the paper says. So I'm gonna. I picked the dog last one. I'm gonna go with the favorite this one. I'm gonna go Nashville.
Nashville's not the favorite here. Dallas is the favorite here.
Oh, my bad. I read that wrong.
So you're going underdog again? You're going Nashville?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I already said it. I'm not gonna even whether I read it wrong or not. I'm gonna stick with Nashville.
Okay. I kind of like that.
They may have lost to the Hawks, but again, the Hawks on paper are not supposed to be this bad. So they almost beat us anyway. So it's like,
Dallas at home this season is, where are we at here? 1-1-1. They're 3-4-1 on the road. Nashville on the road, 3-2-1. Not bad.
They're usually a good road team.
Win at home, split on the road is kind of what you're shooting for. So Nashville travels decently well too. So this is a close game for me. Both teams' offenses just kind of stink.
Pretty much.
Dallas in goal this season, Ben Bishop has certainly been the best goaltender on either team. Just some. Did I say Ben Bishop?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not Ben Bishop.
Yeah.
It's Braden Holtby. Let me backpedal that. I was looking at the injury report. That's why Bishop's name is right there in front of me.
That's fair.
I apologize. Let me walk that back. Braden Holtby.
It's okay. It's not like we're live or anything.
Yeah. It's not like we had 3 hours of taping and editing and making sure that we got this all right. That happens sometimes with live. So let me walk that back. So Braden Holtby has been excellent this season. Ben Bishop, we still have no idea when he's coming back. Knee surgery. I honestly, I'm going to be more surprised if he is able to play at all again. I know he's been working at it for several seasons now, but that's beside the point here. I think Holtby plays well in net tomorrow night. I think he gets the win there, taking Dallas at home. And once again, now we've got 2 for 2 where we're different here. This one.
One
is
thing
gonna
I
get
want to.
interesting.
One thing
Go
I did
ahead.
want
Go
to
ahead.
mention. Oh, one thing
Before I
on this
switch to the
game
next
too.
game. Yes, because I was going to switch to the next one.
Oh yeah, no. The other reason why I feel a little more comfortable with Nashville. Saros is a monster.
Yeah, he is. He can be. He hasn't quite had those numbers this season that he put up at the end of last season. He almost played his way into Vezina Trophy conversation last season with the push to get Nashville into the playoffs. Dallas.
He's got decent numbers. He's got, he's pushing. He's at a .925 save percentage, below 2.5 goals against.
I think defensively Dallas is going to take this one. I'm expecting what's probably I'm guessing 5.5 over under. I would take the under. I think this is going to be a
absolutely.
2-1 type of game. I don't even know if 3-2. I would almost be surprised if these teams combine for 5 goals tomorrow, if I'm being honest, just with how good the goaltending is and how bad the offenses have been.
Yeah, we're different on the actual win picks, but on the under, we agree on that for sure.
All right. Now I got you with this one last week with the ±1.5. We're going on the puck line here.
What is this?
Well, there's only 3 games tomorrow. It's not like we had a choice.
I know, but really?
So, well, here's the thing. So we went with the puck line odds because they were a little bit closer. But, and as I'm refreshing here to get the most up-to-date odds, looking at tomorrow's game, Minnesota Wild -205 at Arizona Coyotes +165. The Coyotes just got their first win of the season. They needed overtime to beat the Seattle Kraken. They avoided the longest losing streak in NHL history to start a season. Yep. They tied the record, which, oh, by the way, they also tied 4 years ago. Both of those years, 2017 and 2021, they started 0-10-1 to the season. Finally picked up a win. Are you going to pick Arizona outright? Did I screw up in picking the puck line here? Would you pick Arizona straight up to beat Minnesota tomorrow?
Absolutely not.
Okay, see, that's why we handicap it here. We give Arizona on the puck line.
I was gonna say, what do you mean? Minnesota. By the way, I'll give you this nice shout out. Minnesota Wild sitting pretty in first place in the Central right now.
Exactly. So we get the odds a little bit closer here. So Minnesota Wild -1.5 goals at +135 at Arizona Coyotes +1.5 goals at -155. So
and one more reminder.
Wild to win by 2,
right?
Or Coyotes to win the game or lose by 1.
This does make it a little bit tougher, but I'm still going to go with the obvious choice here and Wild winning by at least 2.
I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to point right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do one of these. Wild tomorrow, book it. Kevin Fiala is going to get his second goal of the season.
AKA
Kirill
what
Kaprizov.
You call him daddy, right?
Kirill Kaprizov will continue his point streak that he's on. Maybe we get a goal from, let's just get weird and say Matt Dumba gets one. Let's get weird and say Brandon Duhaime gets one. We're going to go nuts on these predictions, but Wild by at least 2 tomorrow, maybe more. Capo Kakkonen is supposedly going to start tomorrow. The Wild do play Vegas on Thursday night, so they may give Kakkonen the start against Arizona. Kakkonen 1-1 this season, .860 save percentage. That's a little bit concerning. And a 3.6 goals against average. He had one really rough outing that knocked him down. The entire Wild roster will score a goal on the Yotes, says HP.
Honestly, he's probably not far off.
Everybody a point, I think, is within reason. That's this Arizona team, they're really, really bad. This is a team we talked about earlier. They have 3 forwards and 3 defensemen on roster for next season. They've been shut out 3 times already this season. They have given up 5 or more goals 5 times this season. They're not a good hockey team. And, God bless Phil Kessel. I hope he gets traded to a contender at the deadline and doesn't have to ride out the rest of this miserable season only to walk in free agency. I really hope he goes somewhere because, who doesn't love Phil Kessel?
Praise be the Phil.
Praise be the Phil. So we're both in agreement on the Wild over the Coyotes tomorrow night. You took Nashville, I took Dallas, and then I took Toronto, and you took Philly. So those are our picks for tomorrow night. We are just about done with the show, but Joel, you have a 2 minutes for roughing for us. This is really becoming. I think it's my favorite segment. Is we just get to go nuts. We'll put 2 minutes on the clock. We've already hit a couple of topics. We've covered pizza. We've covered the trapezoid rule. We've covered all sorts of things on this show so far. Let's go ahead and put 2 minutes on the clock. Joel, you have 2 minutes for roughing this week. I'll count you in here. We got 3, 2, 1. You're up.
I could get a 5-minute major here for punching in the face on the taunting rule. Everyone knows what the taunting rule is. And this does relate to hockey. This is not just going to be about football, but whoever watched Monday Night Football last night saw the horrible officiating. I forgot his name, John something to whatever. But the taunting rule in general, in all of sports, but obviously the NFL is most notorious for this. Okay, way to try and take emotion out of the game that these guys, these men and women both have fought their entire lives, worked so hard their entire lives to finally make it to the big leagues. And when they do something exciting, they want to celebrate. They're going to have emotion. Last night, can't remember his name right now. He was, and here's why. Guy on the Bears, off the practice squad the day before, makes a huge sack to potentially set the Bears up to win the game. And they call a taunting penalty because he takes a couple steps towards the sideline. They didn't call him for the whole roundhouse kick thing he did. Taunting is awful. The NFL continues to show that they do not want to let the players have fun. Look at hockey. It's in our name, Celly, short for celebration. All the celebrations we get to have in hockey. They are immortalized in video games, in highlights, in the beginning of every hockey broadcast on TNT, NBC in the past, ESPN now, TSN, whatever. The Matthews, can you hear me? Whatever. My personal favorite of the Patrick Kane heartbreaker. There should be no such thing as taunting, and this is where the NHL wins because they let their players have fun and show emotion. The taunting rule is absolute crap, and you need to let the players have some fun. Stop being an old curmudgeon.
There we go. 2 minutes for roughing. Joel taking.
I could have gone for 5 minutes.
Could have. We could have almost given you a double minor and given you 4 for roughing there.
It's so bad. It's just embarrassing.
It is. And you look at not only just the impact that it had on the game, but it's something that is so subjective. What is taunting to you may not be taunting to me.
Right.
There's no clear defined what is and what is not taunting because the Bears guy last night, he didn't say anything. No. He looked and he took a couple steps, turned and went to the sideline, and then inadvertently bumped into the official who was walking backwards.
Hip checked him.
It almost looked like he kind of stuck it out a little bit to make sure he clipped him on the way by. But I'm with you here. I think the same way I feel about a batter pimping a home run or a pitcher fist pumping after a strikeout. If you don't like it, stop it. If you don't want me to taunt, if you don't want me to celebrate, stop me from scoring. Stop me from making a big play.
Right. Like we showed at the beginning of the show, Connor McDavid's disgustingly amazing, potentially goal of the year, right?
So good.
And you saw the emotion in his face. He really didn't do much of a Celly. He just kind of got down, fist pumped.
McDavid's not a celebrator either. He's normally like
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, let's go.
And bring everybody in for the hug.
Right. And that's the thing, though. You see him get down on one knee, throw that fist pump, start screaming at the crowd, at the teammates. What do you want him to do when he scores a goal like that? Do you just want him to skate right to the bench and that's it? Just nod the head, skate to the bench, and yep, that just happened. oh, why are you guys going crazy? Like it's a goal, whatever. Like that's not how this works. And I I didn't have 2 minutes to do it, but like you said, right? Like it's the same thing in like baseball where you get the you get the whole old unwritten rule crap that they throw in there, where it's like, oh, you're gonna get pegged next time you're up to bat because you bat flipped. Don't let me hit a home run then, dude. Like people pay good money to come see these games, and as I mentioned in my rant, these men and women work their entire lives, sometimes from the single digit ages till now, to get to the big leagues. When they get to the big leagues and do something awesome, they're going to show emotion. Let them have fun.
Sports are supposed to be fun. That's the point.
And the thing is too, like, obviously, I think the biggest sinners there are the NFL and the MLB. NBA is definitely in second place for sure. I think they let the players do a little more.
They're a tier down from MLB.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
NFL,
but they'll still call, like, if you step over somebody, they're going to call something on you. It's like,
You can't stare a guy down after a dunk. Like, that one makes me mad too. Like, I'm not even a big basketball guy, but like,
right.
you put a guy on a poster, like, give him a second to stare and just kind of,
Yeah, it's a competitive thing, and the other. I don't want to take too long here, but I think the other thing too is, like, is taunting only to the players? Why can't you throw a taunting flag for doing things to the fans? We have that Aaron Rodgers thing.
I was just gonna say, are you mad about how Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears?
Again, I could go on for this. He does. I wasn't mad because it's true, but
that's fair.
But is that not taunting by letter of the rule?
It is supposed. I think the rule does say directed to an opposing player or coach. It says nothing about fans.
Oh,
we'll look that up for next week.
We're the ones. Yeah, we're the ones paying for this, and we're come on.
We'll look it up for next week. But that is it. We are out of time for today's show. Joel, a great 2-minute for roughing. A great show. We covered a lot of ground in that last hour and a couple of extra minutes here. We do generally try and keep it to about an hour if we can, but we had so much this week. Really a lot of ground to cover. So thank you to everybody who tuned in on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. If you are listening on demand, we want to thank you there as well. If you missed tonight's show live, you can listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any of our shows. Everything is on there. We usually have these up about 15 minutes to a half hour after the show airs. But we want to give a huge thank you to Spotify and iTunes for hosting us. Thank you as well to Noob Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network. Episode 5 is in the books. For Joel Fernino, I'm Dan Bradley. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.